Hello, welcome to Senior Moments. I'm Dolly Simonovich. What are your plans for retirement? Do you have a burning desire to change your life, or would you rather just do your own thing? My father was one of those people who wanted to do his own thing, and after retirement he was always busy. He astounded the entire family when at age 90 he won first prize at the county fair for his banana bread. Today's program is about three men who made a different choice. They decided to keep working.
I'm Sal Ignafo. I am 92 years old and I am a practicing pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist since 1933. I got into pharmacy through my cousin who was a pharmacist, and at that time I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and my dad insisted that I go ahead and have some kind of profession. Well, actually, I love sports, and I wanted to be a professional baseball player. And but that was out of the question because my dad just didn't want that to happen. It was my love, you know, but I think I did the right thing by going to pharmacy school and graduated, and I don't regret that one bit. Originally, when you know, my first thoughts when I was going to high school and thinking about pharmacy, there was somewhat of an opportunity of trying to be a physician, because at that time you could have gone to school and college and spent maybe about 5 years to become a physician. Well, I was too young, too full of life, wanted to have fun with myself and buddies of mine, and so I thought I'll take the short road and become a pharmacist, because that was only 3 years. And I certainly don't regret it. What I do as a pharmacist, like anybody else, is you're on the computer. Your doctor may call in a prescription for a patient, and you naturally jot it down, and then you get to the computer, write it up, and you hand it off to your pharmacy technician. The technician then fills the prescription, and we in turn double check to be sure that the medication is proper and going to the right patient, and then it's either delivered or called for. Every week there seems to be a new drug, and we have to be on top of it. And as a pharmacist, all pharmacists have to take 2 years of continuing education to keep up with all the new drugs that are on the market. On Thursday and Friday, when I go to the pharmacy, I'm through about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I come home, spend a little time with my wife. She knows I love to play bridge, and the game starts at 12 o'clock at the Bayshore Bridge Club, is somewhere about 10 minutes away from here, and so I go there, and the game starts at 12:30, 12:15 now, and if anybody knows duplicate bridge, you you have a partner, and you're playing against you're playing against the field is what you're actually doing, and I don't want to have to go into the whole thing, but it's an ego trip, and it's fun. It's just fun, and there's a score at the end. There's the winner. There's a second place. It's placed on the board, and you love to see your name on the board if you want to come in second. And it's not for money. It costs you money. Each game costs you $9, so that's about it. But it's so much fun. Well, my career naturally as a pharmacist is the most satisfying. You know, there's nothing more satisfying than what I've done all my life. I have not retired. I'm sort of half retired. I do work 3 short days and 1 long day on Saturday at the Ace Pharmacy in San Francisco. It was my pharmacy at one time, and I owned the pharmacy until 1982. The person that I sold it to worked for me for many years. In 1982, I thought it was time for me to get out of being an owner, sort of half retire, and thinking I was going to retire, but I'm still with him and been there ever since. I like my job. I like the people around me. They're very friendly. We're just like one big family, and I have the greatest boss one could ever have. I can't think of myself unretiring. You know, I don't know why, but you know, you know, if I'm still capable, I'll probably spend a few hours there at the pharmacy. I mean, because I love the work I do, you know, and it keeps me busy. I can't be playing bridge all day long, and we can't be traveling all the time. So, and I just don't want to be sitting around the house being bored to tears, and so I still see myself still working to some degree.
Sal has the best of both worlds. He can play when he wants, he can work when he wants. Our next guest is a doctor who has his patients in the palm of his hands. Stay tuned.
Sharing special moments is just one click away. Taking care of family has never been simpler. Reaching for a brighter future is all about possibilities. With high-speed internet, you're connected to amazing opportunities. Make your life easier. Get connected today. For more information, visit www.getconnectedtoday.com.
Meet Kathy, who's lived most everywhere, from Zanzibar to Berkeley Square.
But Patty's only seen the sights a girl can see from Brooklyn Heights. What a crazy pair.
Oh, my, Patty. Did you find all your files? Finally. Who knew it would be this much work when Richard and I decided to retire? Well, what are you going to do first? Oh, we're heading down to Brooklyn Heights and starting on that Social Security paperwork. Why would you do that? What do you mean? Well, it's so much easier just to log on to socialsecurity.gov and file online. Well, what if I need to know how much money I'll be getting? Online. All right. What if our address changes? Online. What if I want Medicare too? Online. So how did you get so darn smart anyway? Online.
There is no time like the present to make a personal, life-saving contribution to your community. The American Red Cross is in dire need of blood donors, you, your family, coworkers, or neighbors, to respond to major calamities and the deeply personal and quiet disasters requiring the gift of blood. For more information and to schedule your donation appointment, call the American Red Cross Blood Services or visit their website. Be a local hero. Be a blood donor.
Welcome back to Senior Moments. It's such a delight to talk to people who love what they're doing for a living. Our next guest, Dr. Sunshine, likes his job so much he may never quit.
Hi, I'm Phil Sunshine. I'm an emeritus professor of pediatrics at Stanford University School of Medicine. I consider myself emeritus, and that has certain advantages. I get a free parking sticker, and I have access to a lot of the university benefits that are much less expensive for emeriti than they are for full-time faculty. I don't consider myself retired. I consider myself as working 3/4 time. I actually work about 90% time, but I get paid for 3/4. Well, I really enjoy the work. I enjoy the people I work with. They're very wonderful people, and I've always been fortunate to work with people who enjoy their work and who really look out for each other and try to make contributions together, rather than having one person do his or her own thing, another person doing his or her own thing. It's often that the people are working together on common projects. And neonatology is the care of infants, usually up to the age of about 3 months, mostly focusing on very prematurely born infants and then very sick babies who have various types of illnesses, infection, congenital malformations, acquired illnesses, and things like that. The patients that I take care of are infants. They are babies who no longer require intensive care, like being very prematurely born or being very sick in the newborn period. They're over their acute episode, and now they're learning how to feed and grow, and we're there to help them learn how to nurse, how to maintain temperature, and during this period of time we are also educating the parents on how to take care of these patients when they go home. My job is very different now than when I was working in the nursery, intensive care nursery full-time. When I was in intensive care nursery, we would have up to 40 patients at any one time. There would be 2 teams, and we'd be taking care of critically ill infants. Either they were born too early or they had various types of critical illness that required intensive care. There was a lot of teaching at that time because there were medical students, interns and residents, and postdoctoral fellows. So while we were taking care of the patients, we were also educating these young doctors in the area of intensive care for infants. And now in the intermediate intensive care nursery where I work, there are no medical students, no residents, no fellows. So it's all educating the parents and the nursing staff with whom we work. Well, we don't consider it hours. What we have is how many weeks you're on service. And when I first started in this business, in this practice, there were 2 of us, and we would be on service each 26 weeks a year. Now, where I work, it's called the Intermediate Intensive Care Nursery, and there is no night call there. And the day is much shorter. It's usually about 8 to 4, sometimes 8 to 5. And we work about 10 weekends a year. So it's much different and much easier than when I first started. When I first started taking care of patients in the intensive care nursery, mortality rate was over 50%. If you were born at less than 28 weeks gestation, 40 weeks is the full gestation, and 38 to 42 weeks is what's considered to be normal. If you were born and were less than 28 weeks, you had less than a 10% chance of surviving. Now, not only are the babies surviving, but they're surviving relatively intact. We're not doing so well with babies who were born 24 weeks or below, but if they're born 25 weeks and greater, the survival rate goes up. The babies who survive without difficulties goes up, and it's really made a significant change in outcome. Also, when I first started, our interaction with parents was such that the parents were not allowed to come into the nursery because of regulations at that time keeping people out of the intensive care environment. And it wasn't until approximately 65 or 66, when we start allowing parents to come in and become caretakers for their baby, that our whole nursery changed from being sort of a sterile environment to one where it's now family oriented. I think the baby's well-being has improved significantly. First of all, from the parents' point of view, they get to take care of their babies in a lot of ways while they're still very, very young. And they realize as time goes on, when they're in the nursery, they often can provide much better care than the nursing staff can or the physicians can. And they get to know their babies. And of course, the babies relate very well to them. I can tell you that I've been very fortunate because the field of neonatal medicine has just exploded during my lifetime. In 1963, when I finished my residency, there had only been 1 or 2 papers talking about neonatology. It wasn't even given a name. And then suddenly, there's so many new things that were brought in to the care of these babies, including to provide ventilation, mechanical ventilation for them, treatment of a major disease called hyaline membrane disease that was responsible for the death of President Kennedy's child in 1963. And since that time, very few babies actually die of hyaline membrane disease. And there have been so many other things that have come in, being able to provide adequate nutrition for these babies, being able to take care of babies who have had central nervous system damage. There have been an explosion in imaging techniques that had never been considered before this time. Many new laboratory techniques that have been developed so that we can identify and diagnose diseases that we never understood previously. So I've been so lucky to be involved in this developmental aspect of neonatology. Well, I have hobbies. I like to ride my bike. I like to play tennis. I like to do crossword puzzles, and now I've gotten addicted to Sudoku. And I do spend time with my grandchildren. I'm not sure if I retired, I'd spend more time with them. We're fortunate in that all 6 of our grandchildren live very close to us. 2 of them live right across the street. 2 live down about 3/4 of a mile, and 2 live in San Jose. So if I retired, I'm not sure I would spend any more time with them. When I was working full-time, we were doing some very interesting research. And I would be invited all over the world to give talks about the type of work I was doing. So my wife and I would travel. We traveled to Israel. We traveled to Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Europe, Canada. So we at least would have 1 or 2 wonderful trips a year. My wife feels that she's traveled enough now. She doesn't have to see anything else, and she's very happy just to stay home. So if I wanted to travel more, I would have to start working on my wife about 6 months before the travel plans in order to get her to agree to go with me. So I'm not sure that I would travel anymore if I retire completely or not. We've been so lucky. I mean, I grew up in an exploding new subspecialty in pediatrics. I work and have continued to work with unbelievably gifted people. I've been lucky to have 5 healthy children and 6 healthy grandchildren. And except for a few problems here and there, I've had a very successful marriage, and my wife still puts up with me. My intentions for the future would be to continue to work as I am working now, as long as my health is okay. And I think that's going to be the determining factor, how healthy I am. If I can no longer do the things that I want to do or can do, then I think I would stop. So my agreement with the person who's my immediate superior, the division chief, that as long as I continue to do an excellent job, he'll keep me on. Good is not good enough.
Dr. Sunshine is proud that he helped change neonatal wards go from cold, sterile environments to loving, family-oriented places. And by the way, Sunshine really is his family name. Upon retirement, our next guest decided to pursue his first love.
My name is Greg Arian. I'm retired from a career in transportation, and I currently teach part-time at Skyline Junior College. I started in the railroad industry in 1972. After spending 2 years in the Army, I had a degree in transportation from San Francisco State University. I worked in the transportation industry for approximately 30 years, mostly with railroads, Western Pacific and Southern Pacific Railroad, mainly in the marketing department, negotiating contracts with various steamship lines to handle their containers on our trains. The job was exciting because we had new technology and what they called stack cars. They'd never been used in transportation before. A lot of research went into their ability to handle cargo without breaking or damaging cargo. Negotiating contracts with steamship lines took me to Tokyo, to Seoul, to New York, Taiwan, and it was exciting meeting different people. Also, it was challenging because we were in competition with other steamship lines. I retired when I was laid off. The railroad business went through massive mergers, buyouts, downsizing. Several years before I retired from the railroad industry, I decided I wanted to go back and obtain a second master's, this time in history. The first master's was in transportation. I took one class a semester at San Francisco State in history, and I just took the classes because I liked history. There was no motive, there was no goal other than getting a degree. What impresses me as I go back and look at history is how on occasion people rise above themselves to do things. We always think of Washington or Lincoln as some, I don't know, entity carved on Mount Rushmore, and we forget that they're real live people. They had their faults, and when you closely examine what they did, they're more than what we commonly think of them. They're less because they're human, but they're more because they rose above what they very easily could have accomplished in times of great stress. I retired in 2003 and afterward began to increase the number of units taken at San Francisco State. I did some volunteer work at our church, keeping the books, and I began to research doing some articles on baseball players. I'm interested in baseball, I like to write, so all 3 of those things kept me busy, and each one is very enjoyable in their own unique way. Currently I am teaching part-time at Skyline Junior College. I teach history. I teach classes where there are shortages of professors for one reason or another, illness, schedule conflicts and such. I am the utility player who comes off the bench when needed. I enjoy teaching for a number of reasons. It keeps my mind fresh. I also come in contact with students who I normally wouldn't come in contact with. That keeps me fresh. They challenge me with all sorts of questions, and at the same time, in preparing for the class, I am constantly finding out new things about history that I wasn't aware of. One of the things I found that when I started to teach was a whole different set of challenges as a teacher. I never took any classes in teaching. All I'd done was take history classes. How do you grade papers? How about classroom decorum, discipline? And all these things that you don't think about. And it keeps you on your toes, it keeps you on edge. And I think we all need to be kept on edge to some degree, not grinding into the ground pressure. And now after 3 or 4 years, if I don't know how that DVD works, I just say, hey, does anybody out here know how the DVD works? Come on up. And if nobody does, well, I'm just going to have to lecture. I think I work for a number of reasons, still work. You know, it's nice to get a paycheck, even though it doesn't mean any great shakes in our financial situation, but it's nice to get a paycheck. You're still wanted. It keeps me active. I have to go out and I have to do something. People need me. And I think when you retire, I think you need to be needed. I think you need to be active. I think you need to keep your brain functioning. And I enjoy new experiences. Just because you retire doesn't mean you should sit on the couch and watch TV all day.
Greg confessed that his only regret is that he didn't pursue a career in history earlier. People dream about what they will do one day, and yet statistics show that many people die within 6 months of retirement. Well, did they die of boredom? Or maybe they feel they are no longer contributing to society or to the welfare of their family. Everyone needs to feel needed. I ran across a quote the other day that I felt was apropos. You are here for a reason. If you're still here, there's still a reason. What's yours? Think about it. I'm Dolly Simonovich. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Senior Moments.